In this video, we are going to write this form from scratch using the React Hook Form library and Bootstrap. If you never used Bootstrap, don't worry, it's pretty straightforward, and I will also explain along the way what we are doing. So this form is meant for entering banking information. Depending on the account type we choose, this section will change. So if account type is business, this will ask us to enter a business name. If it's individual, it will say first and last name. All the fields have validations, so if we try to submit the form right now, it will say that all the fields are required. Account number takes digits, routing number takes exactly 9 digits, so if we enter 1 digit, we see that the validation changes. Now it says 9 digits are required. So if we enter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, validation passes, and here if we enter the business name, we can now submit, and we get this like green message box. You can find source code and links to the documentation and video description below. And if you want to support the channel, you can like this video or consider subscribing. There are a lot of videos already and more are coming up. Thanks. We will start by creating a new project using Vite. So in a terminal, we will do npm Vite, npm create, and then Vite at latest. Project name, we will say React dash form, and here we will select React and JavaScript. And yeah, now we can open it in our IDE or editor, which I will do off screen. Okay, so I opened our project. We just need to follow these instructions that Vite printed out. So we need to do npm install and then npm run dev. So here in terminal, npm install and npm run dev. We can see our project is running in here, and now we will clean up right now this section from here. We need to add our own content. So in here in source, in app.jsx, we can remove all this stuff from return. We can just add let's say a paragraph here with hello world for now. So we will say hello world. We see that the content is still centered. This is from the CSS that came from Vite. So we can remove these unused ones. The app.css we don't need, so we can just delete it. And also in main.jsx, we can remove the index.css, and we can also delete this file in index.css. We will use our own CSS. Actually, it will come from Bootstrap. So now we can see that it just prints it without any styling. Next, we will add the Bootstrap to our project. I'm going to close these tabs right now. We don't need them. So in our project here in a different terminal, we can just do npm I for install and Bootstrap. Very good. So now in our app.jsx, we need to import the Bootstrap CSS. So we will do import Bootstrap dist CSS, and then we'll do Bootstrap bootstrap.min CSS. So now in here, instead of this paragraph, we will add a div in here. So the class name will be container. And if you've never used it, this just puts our content. It's a wrapper around all the content of our web page. Actually, if we add a border, it's easier to see what is going on. So you will see that it's a certain width, and if we make the window very small, like for a mobile device or tablet, this container will take all the entire space. But if our window is very wide, you can see that at some point this doesn't increase. So it's just a good default to place our web page contents in. Next, we will add one form styled with Bootstrap with one input field. So if we search for Bootstrap forms, we will find the documentation of the Bootstrap library. Here you can see all the components that Bootstrap has, but now we will just focus on the forms. So this is a basic form they have, for example. So we just need to have a form element in our HTML, and then one div. So each input field will be placed in a div with a form group class, and then the inputs will need to have this class form control. So we can do this just now. In here we will do one form. Here we will say class name, I think it's form group. Yeah, form group, and then form control. Form dash group. And then the input will be class name form control. And we're also going to add a label. Let's call this for now, the ID of this field will be name. And the label, so it'll be label HTML for name. And this one will just say name. Let's see. So yeah, we can see that it added this label, the input, and it has this styling. When we click on it, it adds this border. This is all coming from Bootstrap. We can see that the form inputs take up the entire width of the container, which for phones and tablets might be okay, but for desktop, I think they are too wide, and we will try to make them narrower right now. And what we need to do is to go to form and give it the class name col-md-6, and we will see that now it takes only half the width. And the way this works is the width of a container in Bootstrap is divided into 12 units. So now we told them to just use 6 units, but only for screen size medium or larger. So for example, here if we do actually let's ignore the MD for now. So if we just do col4, we will see that now it takes a third of the width. So that's what the 4 stands for, and the 6, we'll set it for 6 right now. And so this will apply for all screen sizes. And now if we make this window very narrow, it still takes half of the available space. But if we also set MD, it means that this will it will take up 6 columns only for screen sizes medium or larger. So here it still takes half the width, but if the window is a mobile phone, it will still take up the entire space, which is what we want. So the MD is based on the breakpoints in Bootstrap. If we search for Bootstrap breakpoints, we can see here a list of endpoints. So MD will be for window size of window width of at least 768 pixels. So the way you can read this class is apply column 6 only for screen sizes medium or larger. We can also add the form buttons next. I'm going to close some windows from here. And so in here we can place them in a separate div. And now we just add button. We need to give it the class btn, and then btn primary. These are from Bootstrap, and this one will be the submit button. Let's see if it worked. Yeah, this works very well. And also we need to add the secondary button. So this one will be reset, and it will have to be type equals button. So because it's they are in a form, when we click submit, this will act like we submit the form. If it doesn't have a type, then it's just considered a submit button. So this one will be btn-secondary. And yeah, we can see that they were added, but the problem is that we don't have any space between them. So we can add some margins to them. So let's say we want to add a margin to the right of the submit button. So in here we just add the class me-2. So this is coming from the Bootstrap spacing. They have this units for margins and for everything. So we can see it added a bit of space. For example, if we do me4, this will be, it will add even more space, but I think 2 is the right amount. So E stands for end. Previously it was named MR, margin right, but because of the right to left writing in some languages, it was switched to beginning and end, so MB and ME. And on their container, we can also add margin top 2, so MT-2. We can see it added the margin to the top, and also we can add a bit of margin to the top of the container. So in here we say container border and MT-2. And yeah, for now we can remove the border. I don't think we need it anymore. We just wanted to illustrate what it's doing, and we can also remove this hello world. So now the form looks a bit better. Next, we will process the very basic form we have at the moment using the React hook form library. So we need to add it to our project. We go back to our terminal window. So we will do npm I and then react-hook-form. Okay, very good. So now in our project, actually we can delete this set count thing. In here we will do from the entry point for this library is use form, and it returns an object with multiple fields, and we will use for now register and handle submit. So we need to import the use form from the library. Let's say register, handle submit, and also reset, and we will see shortly what they do. Just formatting it a bit better for now. Okay, so register, here is where we register different inputs in our form. The only input we have is this one, name. So in here, the way we register it is we do like this, curly braces, and then register, and then the input name. In our case, it's a name. So what this does is just, it's calling this function from the library. This one returns some fields, and then we add these fields using the spread operator to the input field. And also, so that's what register does. We just add fields to our form. And handle submit, it processes the data from our form. So here on the form on submit, we do handle submit, and we need to provide a function in here inside the handle submit. So it's a second order function. We're going to add a lambda in our component. So let's just call this one send data. So it will be data, and we can just print it to the console. Let's say submitted, and then data, just like that. And this Lambda can also be asynchronous. If you need to send your data to an API, you make it asynchronous. For now, for our for this video, we don't need to do that. We're just going to leave it synchronous. So now in handle submit, we pass this function, send data. Make sure you don't do this. You just need to pass the Lambda. And yeah, this looks good. So we can try it out right now. I'm going to open the console. In Chrome, you do this by doing inspect. Actually, let's place it to the side and here in console. So now, if we just enter a field in here, we can see it's printed submitted and the values that were submitted. If we registered more fields, we will see all our fields in the subject. And also we need to wire in the reset button. So we need to call this reset function from the that was returned by useForm. You might be tempted to change the type of the second button to say type reset, but that is not enough. While it erases the data in the fields, we also, the reset function from useForm does more. It will reset the errors on the form and other stuff, so you need to use that one. So in here we will do on click, and we just call reset. Let's see. So in here, yeah, we see that it erased our field. Now we can add validations to our form. So if we look into the documentation of React Hook Form, we can search for something like React Hook Form API use form. Let's see. Yeah, this one. And here we see all the fields returned by useForm. The ones we used are register, reset, and handle submit. So inside register, we can see it takes a name, but it can also take other properties. And actually, it also supports validations. So the validation we'll use for now is just the required one. So if the input field is empty, it will throw an error. The way we use it is with the error message. So in here we say register and then an object that has the required and then error message in here. And we can add it just now. So in our input, in here, actually it will say required. So let's say this field is, or actually let's just add required as a message, returned. And the way this works is that it will prevent the form from submitting. So in here, if we try to submit, we can see that it doesn't call our function that says the form was submitted. And actually the handle submit function takes a second argument that the library will call if the form has any errors. So in here we can see handle submit, and it takes a submit handler and also a submit error handler. And we can try it right now. So let's add a second function in here. So let's say form failed and then errors. And we can also print it to the console. Let's say form failed and we print the errors. So now we need to wire this form failed inside the handle submit. And if we try it right now, when we click submit, we see that it calls the form failed function. And the fields, it contains the fields that failed the validation. So inside the name field, it says the message we wired in and the type of validation it failed. We can take a look at what other validations are available. So if we go back to the documentation in register, we can see that this is the one we used right now. There are other ones that says the maximum length of the field we can provide, minimum length, minimum and maximum values for numbers, regular expression patterns. And also there is this validation where you can write any validation you like. You just provide a lambda function, so that takes a value, and then so our function needs to return true if the field value is valid, and if it's not valid, then it needs to return the validation error message, so a string. And we can try it right now. So in here, let's say so we have this required field. Let's say we want the name to be exactly 3 characters long. So we will have validate, and so it takes the value of the field, and we say v.length equals 3. And if that is true, then it returns true. Otherwise, we return 3 characters needed. And yeah, now we can see if it works. So if we try to submit it like this, we get the error of required. And if we type in 1 character, it says, yeah, we get the error 3 characters needed. And also if we have 4, we get the same one, of course. Next, we will look into how we can display the form validation error into the user interface. So if we look for Bootstrap form validation, if we just search it on Google, we will see that there are the main method for form validation in Bootstrap is using pseudo classes valid and invalid. However, with React Hook Form, I found it easier to use the server-side validation, and this is what we are going to use here. Basically, what we need to do is just add one of these 2 classes is valid or is invalid to our inputs, and we can try it now. So in our input, if we added is valid, we will see that it gets this green check mark, and the input border changes to green. And if we do is invalid, it will turn to red, and it gets this warning sign. And also we can provide an explanation of the error message. So, and for this we just add this class. It says div class valid feedback or invalid feedback. So in here, after the input, we do div class name invalid input. No, I think it's invalid feedback. We can say input is not valid. And if we go here, we see that it shows it under our input. In our case, we won't add the valid feedback, so the green check mark, to our fields. We will only add the error one when there are errors. So pretty much we need to see if the form has errors, and if it has if that field has an error, then we need to add this class to the input, and also this div with the error message that is in the error. So actually the way we looked at the errors in the form so far is with this lambda function, but we cannot use this for wiring in the UI. Instead, we will access them from this field in use form called form state, and inside form state there are all the errors currently in the form, and this is much easier to access. So now if we just print the errors in here, let's see, form errors, and yeah, we can remove the form failed handler from here. We're not going to use it anymore. So now we see that now it doesn't have any errors, but if we try to submit, now the form has errors. Again, if we make a change, the form errors is updated. Now it says 3 characters needed. So this is perfect for what we need. Now we need to conditionally add this is invalid class to our input when the errors.name is set. So for conditionally adding classes, I'm using the class names libraries. You can also do it without. It's just I find it easier. So the way it works is we can do class names. This class will always be added, and this other class bar is added only when this expression is true. So we can add this library to our project. We do npm install class names. So in here, instead of adding the string with both class names, we will use this function, class names, like that. So form control is always added, and the other one is invalid will only be added when errors.name is set. So in here, just like that, and now we can try it out. So we can see submit. Yeah, it makes it red. It's still red, and when it becomes valid, when we add 3 characters, we can see that it goes away. And also, instead of this string input is valid, we need to replace it with the actual error message, and also render it only when errors is set. So in here we can conditionally render it, so it'll be errors.name and that div. Sorry about that. I just hit the page up accidentally. So in here, and the message instead of input is not valid, it will be errors name dot message. So now if we can see 3 characters is needed, and if we reset it and try to submit it, we get the required error message. Now we will do some refactoring in our code and extract all this code for a single form input into one React component. That will make it easier to add multiple fields into our form. So we will just add a new file in here in source. We can call this one input field.jsx or JS, it doesn't really matter, both work. So in here we will do function input field. We're going to add some props later, and we will export default input field. So we need to copy everything in here with that's inside the div class name form group. So in here we just simply return all this stuff, and I think another div, yeah, just like that. So this instead of name, we need to take this as a prop. Let's call this one field ID. So this will be field ID. Name, this one will be field label. Field label. See, field label. Okay, here errors of instead of name in here, we will use errors of field ID. The ID in here is also field ID. Oh, and also we need to pass in the errors. So errors registered, this will be the field ID. And the validation needs to be passed as a prop as well. So validate. And let's make this validation optional. So we will give it the, by default, we'll just give it a lambda that always returns true. So it's basically a no-op. And also register we need to pass. So before the field with the default, so we have errors register. Here instead of errors name, it needs to be errors of field ID. And here also errors of field ID dot message. And let's see. Okay, I think now it should be good. So if we go in here, if we simply remove this class from here, we call it input field, and just we need to populate the properties. So field ID equals name, field label, let's call this one first name, and let's see what else we have. Errors equals errors, register equals register, and yeah, let's see if this one works. We refresh our page. Yeah, it says required, and yeah, we get the submitted value, and we can try to add it one more time just to make sure it works. So let's say this one is first name, and this one is last name. So if we reset it, it works. It says required. Now, if we type in only one is valid, the other one is not, which is good. If we submit it, they come in as the correct field names. So yeah, it looks good. I'm just going to add a bit of space between the fields. So I'm going to do margin bottom 2 for each field. Let's see, input field. So to the form group, we do MB-2. And now they have a bit of space between them. We can now transform these two inputs into our account number and routing number in the banking form we are trying to do. So in here, inside app, this will be account number, and this will be routing number, and yeah, however, one problem is that they are both inputs of type number, and in here they are text. So we need to add one additional field to our input field component. We will say this one input type, and by default is text. And we need to wire this one in here in input type equals input type. So now if we go back to app.jsx, we both will be of input type number, and in here input type number. So now we can see that they only take numbers. And also for routing number, we need to set the validation rule that a 9-digit number is needed. So in here we will do validate equals, so the value will be v.length equals 9, or 9 digits needed. So in here, yeah, we can see it has it, and this one works as expected. Next, we will add the radio buttons for selecting the account type. So if we go to the Bootstrap documentation, under forms, there will be a page checks and radios. So in here we have an example for radio buttons. Basically, each radio needs to have both the input and the label inside a div with the class form check. And the input needs to have a form check input, and the label needs to have form check label. So we can try to do this in our project. So that we will have a div, let's see, what was again? Form check. Okay. So form check, and then form check input, form check label, form check, input type, radio, class name, form check input, and ID, let's call this one business account. We need to close the input, and label, it will be HTML4 and for business account, and class name, it will be form check label. This one, the label will be business. Let's see if it added. Yeah, so we have the business, and now we duplicate this this class. So this one, the ID will be individual account. So this one will be individual. Actually, no, let's call it personal account. So personal, and personal in here. So personal account. And yeah, we see business, personal. We need to register them to the form for them to behave properly. So if we go back to the inputs, we need to provide a value to them. Let's say business. And we can also register them using the register field just like before, and we'll call this account type. Yeah, there need to be 3 dots in here. So, and we register both of them with the same ID, because this field will contain either value business or personal. So in here we need to provide a value here as well. Personal. And let's see, what was the... Oh, yeah, I did it inside label. That's not, they need to be under input. So I'm just going to move it to the input. It should be good now. So now, like if we click personal and we submit the form, oh, it has errors. Hold on. If we submit it now, we can see that we received this account type personal. However, the problem is that if we refresh the form, we can see that there is nothing selected. So we can give it a default value. So if we submit it now, actually, let's see. Yeah, we can see that it's submitted with account type null. So we can just give it a default value. The way in which we give default values is when we call use form. Here there's an object with default values, and in here we can do account type, let's say business. So now if we refresh this page, we can see that business is already selected, and now it's good. We will always get an account type. And one more thing that we need to do is we need to group these radios inside a field set. So in here, this two divs, it will be a field set with a legend. So here we will also do legend account type. And yeah, we can see now it is good. And also these two fields we can also group in a field set. We are going to call that account info. So in here also field set I'm just going to indent this one level, and in here legend account info. Okay, so now it is good. We can see validation still working. And now we will add the last section of our form, and that is the account owner. This section depends on the selection that was made for the account type. If account type was business, then account owner will contain one input field for business name. If account type was personal, then it contains two fields for first and last name. So the way in which we can check the value of a selection in our form is by using the watch field returned by use form. If we go back to the React hook form documentation for the use form function, we see in here there's a variable watch. So the way we use it, this one is a function that we call it with the input name that we want to check. So we can try it out right now. If we just add it in here when we call use form. So this one works very similarly to errors, that returns the current errors in our form. So here we will print the account type. So we will do watch of account type. And we will see if we go, let's clear this out. So we see now it's personal, business, it prints it all the time. So now we can add the account owner fields depending on that watch value. So in here, after the account type field set, right before the buttons, we will add an expression. Let's say watch of account type equals business. Then we return in here an input field. So I think it's field ID, business name, field label, business name, and then errors and a register. So yeah, now if it's business, it says business name. If it's personal, it doesn't say anything. So this is, if you're not familiar with this syntax, it's equivalent to if watch of account type equals business, then return this thing, otherwise returns false. And if React won't show false in a browser, so it's just using this shortcut. It's called short circuit expression, I think. And we do the same thing for personal. Personal, so, oh, and here we will need actually two fields, so we wrap them in this empty element in React. So this one will be first name, and last name here. Okay, let's see. And yes, it works well. And now we also need to wrap these conditional fields into a field set with legend. So legend, account owner, and we need to move this one after these watch expressions. And indent everything. Okay, now it looks very good. And also the cherry on top, we will do that alert that says success at the bottom. So in here, I think they are called alerts in Bootstrap. So we need this one, the alert dash success. So we just need a div with alert dash success that says submitted. So we'll just try it. So after the div with the buttons, we will do a div class name alert and then alert dash success that says submitted. And yeah, we will give it a bit of margin top, let's say margin top 2. Okay, very good. But we need to display this one only when the form was submitted. So for this, we will do a state variable. So let's say submitted, set submitted equals use state. So when the form is submitted, so inside the send data, we do set submitted true. And when the form is reset, then we set it to false or to null. So in here we do reset. This one is the secondary button that says reset. So we do set submitted empty. It'll just set it to null like that. And let's see what's oh yeah, we didn't close one curly brace, I think. Yeah, another one like that. So now this alert, we need to do it conditionally on submitted. So it will be submitted and this this div. Okay, so now if we clear out the console, we can test everything. We'll try to submit it like this. We see all the validations fail. This one needs 9 digits. Let's call Google in here. We can see it says submitted. Now if we reset the form, that one goes away. Oh, and also we can see in here the data that was sent is the correct one. And in here, like that. So we check again that the data was submitted. It says personal name, which is very good. This is all the material for this video. There's more related content on the channel if you want to continue watching. And if you have questions, let me know in the comment section below. Thanks.